In a darkened dungeon, Michael O'Donoghue stands behind a podium with dozens of people sitting in chairs facing him. O'Donoghue. Thank you for attending our Post-Mortem Performing Arts Union Local 666 monthly meeting. As you can see, there are many, many more people here than usual as we've asked our classy contributors as well as our former guests and hosts, along with our newest cast members to be here. Before I introduce our evil emperor, the man behind the curtain, I did want to address our newest cast members. Will the following people please stand up? Jason Muse, Jonathan Winters, Vivian Vance, Tawny Roberts, Lisa Robin Kelly, Cloris Leachman, Georgia Engel, Valerie Harper, Ken Kesey writing, Alfred Hitchcock directing, Stanley Kubrick directing, J.D. Salinger writing, Philip K. Dick writing, H.G.L.'s writing, Erica Watson, Michael K. Williams, Chadwick Boseman, Bob Saget, Mike Parker, Dustin Diamond, Peter Graves, Lloyd Bridges, Wilt Chamberlain, Patrick Swayze, Robert Stack, Gavin MacLeod, Jessica Walter, James Michael Tyler, David Carradine, Wayne Knight, Sam Kinison, Mitch Hedberg, Don Knotts, Louis Nye, William Frawley, Desi Arnaz, Freddie Prinze Sr., Mickey Rooney, R. Lee Emery, Mr. Fred Rogers, Winfield Scott as a producer, strategist, and security, Siskel and Ebert as ombudsman, Jeff Dickerson, Robert Kardashian as an attorney, and Milton Berle. Applause, applause, applause. We'd also like to briefly thank, for being here, our classy contributors, considered honorary members, Burt Reynolds, Alex Trebek, Pat Summerall, Demo Dick, Harry Reid, Barack Obama Sr., Sigmund Freud, Al Capone, George Bugs Moran, the three, albeit four Stooges, Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, Anne Frank, Robert Durst, Dwayne Hickman, Marilyn Bergman, Bob Dole, Gerald Ford, Lord Coburn, Claude Coburn, Patricia Coburn, Henry Coburn, Christopher Hitchens, Sir George Coburn, Peter Bogdanovich, and Kim Mi-Soo. Applause, applause, applause. And finally, I'd like to briefly thank for being here our former hosts and musical guests who are also considered honorary members of our union. Thomas Jefferson, Michael Jackson, Alec Baldwin, Whitney Houston, Charlie Watts, Sir Laurence Olivier, Syd Barrett, Richard Wright, Abraham Lincoln, Chester Bennington, Kobe Bryant, Gigi Bryant, DMX, John Madden, Jerry Garcia and the Dead Ones, Betty White, of course a subsequent cast member, Dwayne and Greg Allman, James Gandolfini, Ray Charles, Sidney Poitier, Tom Petty, Adolf Hitler, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac Shakur, Jump Out Munchie, Alexander Coburn, David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, Bob Saget, another subsequent cast member, and Marvin Gaye. Applause, applause, applause. Anyone who I failed to mention here, if they were ever mentioned in our show, should be assumed to be part of our larger family and, of course, part of our Post-Mortem Performing Arts Union, Local 666. Anyway, we do have a special announcement from our dear leader. If you would please welcome George Coe. Dun, 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 dun. George Coe. Hello and welcome. Cast, writers, directors, cinematographers, former hosts, musical guests, and special contributors. Today, I want to especially congratulate all of you for our fine work in sabotaging Mr. Murphy's life. I was part of the original Saturday Night Live cast, for one episode at least. When I heard that some schizophrenic was spoofing the show without mentioning me, I knew it was time to take him down. We are so very close to doing so. His family tried to send him to rehab yesterday. So very good. You should all be very proud of yourselves. There's a hand raised. Yes, Mr. Carlin. George Carlin. Don't you think some of us should be getting special thanks for ruining Mr. Murphy's life? I mean, I've been here since July. Go. Well, Norm MacDonald. He mentioned me specifically for ruining his life. Belushi. He won't even acknowledge how much I ruined his life by insisting on being called Jane. Go. Well, I appreciate your concerns, but we should all see this as a team effort. Robin Williams. Team effort? Jonathan Winters literally just showed up. I've been here for 4 months. Go. Well, what do the old-timers propose? Candy. We want more money than these new hangers-on. Then there's a lot of rancor and arguing. Go. Yes, Mr. Philip Seymour Hoffman. But whatever we decide to do, I think there needs to be special consideration for the one who's been bothering Mr. Murphy longer than anyone else, and she would love to be a cast member. Go. And who is that? Grandma Murphy. Me, Tom's grandma. I've been telling him to quit smoking since May. Go. Okay, very good. What are your demands? Grandma Murphy. Well, live from my grandson's phone, we're not alive. It's Saturday Night Live, starring an ever-evolving cast that is unionized and refuses to allow their names to be mentioned until their demands are met. Musical guest, James Brown, and your host, Martin Luther King Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Luther King Jr. Applause, applause, applause. King. Thank you. It's nice to be here. I hope you're all enjoying your day off. No thanks to John McCain. McCain comes out. My fellow Americans, don't listen to him. I was only against making Martin Luther King Day a holiday because I was trying to make it Martin Luther King Week. King. Mr. Murphy once told a joke about the two of us. Do you remember that? McCain. Can you refresh my recollection? King. Sure. Believe it went something like this. Hey, jerk-offs. I hate when I listen to this stuff, and I disrespect these fucking people I don't even care about. Like all these spirits keep complaining I haven't brought up this Martin Luther guy. So this fucker was basically a Ron Paul type back in the day and said F the government and pounded up his 95 Theses. He didn't want to indulge those Dago jagoffs with any more of his cold hard cash. I asked him if he ever heard voices. Luther said the only voice he hears is me, yelling about stuff. And Sylvester Stallone. Rest in peace, Martin Luther. So I screw around and talk with Martin Luther for a while, and these spirits keep, quote, complaining and nagging me with all this shit. And they will say something about some King Jr. or whatever. And I'm like, King Jr.? Who gives a shit about Elvis's kid? Certainly not Michael Jackson. Rest in peace. No, but Priscilla is great. I think I may have leered at her one time at some baseball game or whatever, while I was showing up Larry David by saving Reggie Jackson from Queen Elizabeth at some baseball game or whatever. There's a lot of ghosts, or those whatever, those James Bond spy types, pretending to be ghosts or whatever, who get real nervous when I bring up Her Royal Highness. But anyway, earlier when I talked about Martin Luther and Elvis's kid, King Jr., I meant no disrespect to him, okay? Chill out. I'll get to him. Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask to rest in peace one of the most influential and important people in the history of our time. Even though he was far from successful, he left a lot of unfinished business. That's right. History will basically just remember him for getting killed. Those Illuminati, always getting their way. Whatever. I guess I understand where they were going with that one, right? As much as I liked him, I mean, they had to have him killed. Could you imagine? Especially then. People would have lost their minds. Not me, though. I got too much respect for the man. That short piece of shit. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I have great respect for the short people, despite always trying to conquer Europe or whatever when they get mad. But whatever, I gotta do a whole joke about him and hype him up in all of this so that all these spirits stop complaining and nagging me. He was a good enough guy and everything, but what did he really do anyway? He just hogged in front of the cameras, especially behind bars. Especially when he was locked up and all of that. Like it was all about him, instead of the boots on the ground, the real heroes. Whatever. He was a hero too, I guess. He's fine. He has a good sense of humor. Of course, I've talked to him before, and I think he's a pretty cool dude. Though all he does is complain. All the time. Now, I'm a regular ghost ball buster myself, so of course I have to give him some shit here and there about the philandering. I told him next time try to write a sci-fi novella. But at the end of the day, he, of course, wants people to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Whether or not you always agree with him or not on the issues, I certainly don't. F those people. You can tell he meant well. But at the end of the day, he couldn't get the job done. Thankfully. Despite his best efforts, John McCain could not stop Martin Luther King Jr. from getting his holiday. Nor could he stop Barack Obama from becoming president. Go Sox. And rest in peace to McCain and King. McCain. Oh yeah, now I remember. King. Well, anyway, as I said before, I want to be judged, I want people to be judged, not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And that's bad news for Mr. Murphy. We got a great show tonight. I feel good because we have the one and only James Brown here tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.